feeling the weight of the city, longing for a moment of profound calm just for you or with someone else, someone special? At Somatic Massage Therapy and Spa, your urban sanctuary right here in New York, nestled on the border of Queens and Nassau County in beautiful Floral Park, we invite you to melt away the stress. Imagine this: 60 or 90 minutes of pure therapeutic bliss. Picture warm, smooth, hot stones gliding over your tired muscles, easing every knot, feeling the comforting embrace of hot towels, melting away tension. This isn't just a massage, it's an escape, a reset for your mind and your body. First-time guests experience our 15-minute introductory therapeutic massage session for just $89, a $125 value. For couples, reconnect and unwind side by side, sharing an unforgettable journey to tranquility. Somatic Massage Therapy and Spa, your New York haven is waiting. Visit us at 113 Jericho Turnpike in Floral Park. Book your escape now. Call 516-686-9557. Text 516-447-4373. Or find us online at somaticmassagepc.com. That's somaticmassagepc.com. somaticmassagepc.com. Ask about our flexible memberships. No contractual, cancel anytime for continuous well-being. Or give the gift of relaxation with the Somatic gift card. Your moment of peace is just a click away. This is going to be a very exciting room. Welcome to the Marketing Club. You are also tuned in to the We Don't Play podcast show. Please feel free to reach out to me, and you can go to playinc.online, or you can go to wedon'tplaypodcast.com so that you can start listening to episodes like this. And also, if you like help with SEO as a business, as a consultant, as an agency, as a business owner, and you need help with your business, feel free to click the link above, and I'll be happy to connect you to a few places that you can actually enjoy, especially if you're in the mood of podcasting or creating a space for podcasting. If podcasting is something you're interested in, up here there's a really great wait list that you can join, and that way you can also get on a call with me. And I'll put a link as well so that you can have more access to more than just the wait list, but there's going to be way more. But if you really want to get emails and get exclusive information like this, the link above is going to help you to get access to that really, really quickly. So as we're here today, we're going to talk about an SEO checklist. My podcast, let me just say this really quickly. The podcast, We Don't Play Podcast, has been growing. Right now, when I looked at the charts, we're in the top 93,000 out of 4.5 million podcasts total. That's a lot. And it fluctuates between 100,000, then it goes down to 200, and then it goes up to 90,000, then it's been 100, 126. So since last week, the podcast has been growing. The We Don't Play podcast show has been growing, and this is because of SEO. If we're streaming across 145 countries, we're about to kick off season 11 after Memorial Day weekend, and this is going to be a very exciting time because every time we have a new season, it's because we've gone at least across 52 episodes, and there are 52 weeks in a year. So each episode is, let me say it this way, each season is kind of like you're going around the year when it comes to information, technology, insights, feedback. It's all that great stuff. So if you want to listen to the podcast, you can go to wedon'tplaypodcast.com, and I'm going to put the link at the top so that you can click on this link and sign up, when you're ready. But we're going to have a checklist today, and I have a full checklist for you, so that you can understand these things and take action when you're ready. Before we get started, Mo Dub, what's going on? Happy Saturday. How are you, and how are you enjoying your weekend? your holiday weekend?
What's up, brother? Thanks for bringing me up. For those that don't know, I'm Mo Dub, the vet you love, and yeah, I'm the content and copywriting king around this joint. Um, but yeah, man, it's going good now, man. Because I got AC now, man. I didn't have AC for almost a week, actually a little bit more than a week, and I had to uh, let's say getting somebody's ass to get it done. So So we got AC, we got some good stuff. Got some burgers and dogs, some brats I want to put on the grill. Uh, Probably gonna relax pretty much this weekend and get on the grind on Tuesday.
I love that. I love that, Mo. Thank you so much for being here and being part of today's discussion. We're going to have one of these topics that, I don't really bring too much. And I feel like it's important to bring them in so that as you're listening, you can take notes so you can take action when you're ready. So today, we're going to talk about SEO and the checklist that you would need to understand. If you want to join the podcast waitlist, the link is available in the chat. If you want to connect, have a call, both accesses will get you to the calendar. So we have a checklist. Now we're going to cover 6 areas. We're going to cover the SEO basics, which you have to know, because if you don't know these basics, everything else that I talk about today is all, let me use this word, invalid. Because if you don't go through this basics as a business, whether you are doing it yourself, whether you're hiring me and my team, whether you're hiring another team, whether you're hiring whoever is actually doing it right now, if you have somebody that's actively in your team doing it, if they've done it, great. They need to always go back to the basics. We always go back to the basics, right? Because without the basics, we can't build the foundation, right? 1+1 is 2. From there, everything else makes sense. So we're going to cover the basics. We're also going to cover keyword research. We're also going to cover on-page SEO. We're going to cover off-page SEO. We're going to cover technical SEO, and I'm going to leave that last because that's very important. Like the first one and the last one, if you don't know these two, it's like a hamburger. It's like a sandwich. If it's like a hot dog. If the buns are not together, it's not a hot dog anymore. It's not a sandwich anymore. So there has to be a connection between the two. And the first and the last one is going to be important. And then of course there's going to be content. If you don't have content, then that's the meat and potatoes. That's the meat in the burger. So you have to let people know what it is, but you also have to have the basics and the fundamental to make it happen. Right? So make sure you share this room out, connect with your friends, ping your friends here, let them understand that this is going to be a topic that this holiday weekend, I felt like if I don't do this, it will be a disservice to my community. And I don't want you guys to be like, oh, we didn't know. There's no excuse now. Now we know, because now we can actually make something like this happen. So feel free to stick around. We're going to be here for an hour and we're going to make sure we knock this thing out really, really well. All right. So here we go. When it comes to the SEO basics, the number one thing that you need to do as a business is this: set up. Set up, set up, set up. If you can't set up, you're set to fail. If you fail to plan, you plan to fail. Set up. What do I mean by set up? You have to create, and this is for anyone that has a website. You need a website to do this. You need a domain to do this. And if you have a domain, you need a website to create that experience, right? A lot of people have domains. You included, me included. We have domains. Some people have 10 domains, 100 domains, 2 domains. You may have 1, but does that domain that you want to use have a website that people can land on and stay on? I was just doing a video for a client showing her the activity of how we track websites and clients to understand how people behave on websites. If somebody's clicking left, clicking right, are they clicking up, clicking down? Are they clicking in between? Are they adding to cart? Are they removing from cart? What are they removing from the cart if they're going to have to remove something? Like, we see all those things. because we want our clients to have clarity. When you're spending money and you're spending time, you need to be focused, because when you pay attention to what you pay for, you get more results because you're paying attention to the details. So one of the details you have to pay attention to when it comes to SEO basics is that you have to set up your website to Google Search Console and also to Bing Webmaster Tools. These two are non-negotiable. We can't work if we can't do this. If you say no to this, then we're not the right people for you, because Google Search Console and Bing Webmasters, and it used to be called Google Webmasters before they changed to Google Search Console, right? Or Webmaster Tools if you want to keep it generic. When you hear Webmaster Tools, that means it's a toolbox that is required for you to work something out. If your car is down, you need a toolbox to spin the wheels. You need something to make something happen, right? You know how they say you need to spend money to make money? The same way you can spend time and make money, you can do that based on how you spend your time. So that's why this time I'm spending with you is very important. So as you're spending time listening, because I know when people are listening, they're productive. I'm sure you're productive right now. You're probably doing something, driving, cooking. Mo is about to cook up a grill, having a great time. It's a Saturday, it's a weekend. So yeah, have a great time. Feel good, because this is like, you're not going to work, on your computer. Some of you may be, some of you may not be, but some of you will be when you hear this or want to try this or maybe want to connect after. So this information is important so that you can mark it and then also come back to it later. Make a mental note and then come back to it later. Your search console, whether it's from Google or Bing, this is the internet service provider. If you didn't have internet service, you would not be listening to this podcast. You will not be listening to this room if you did not have Wi-Fi service or mobile network service. That is a fact. You need to be online to be here. So let's just start there. Let's be very basic with this example. For you to be here listening, for me to be here, we both need to be online. If we're not online, we're offline. It's either or. So if your online customer is looking for you and you're not online, or you're not on their line, or you're not on their listing, then that means you're off the radar, you're off the surface, you're off the platform. You have a brand, you have a website, you have a business, but is it visible? Is it readable? Is it accessible? Is it clickable? Is it findable? And they're not looking for your business name, they're looking for a business solution. Your business name is a byproduct. So if you're going to give them an experience, then your website has to be on a platform that provides the internet service. So you have a domain, you buy a domain from wherever. GoDaddy, HostGator, Hostinger. There are many platforms you can choose from. When you buy your domain, the next thing after you buy your domain is to buy hosting. Hosting means that you are hosting your domain on a surface, on a platform, on a server. And that's why it's very important to think about where you put hosting. It's like saying, where do I build this land? I have $3 million and I want to build a home. Where am I going to put this on? What land? What structure? Where you're going to place that land or where you're going to build that building is because you did research. So the same thing with the hosting platform online. You have to do the research and ask yourself, is this platform going to be host worthy? Because not every platform has great hosting. For me, if you're on GoDaddy, good luck to you. Grace, mercy unto you. Great place. No problem with GoDaddy, but GoDaddy is not doing 2025 things that other platforms could be doing. So welcome, Candice. So if you're on GoDaddy, great. No harm, no foul. But at some point, when you think about scaling, you may not want to be on that platform because of the bandwidth. And that platform is great. Don't get me wrong. Every platform does what it does. But when I think about scaling, modern, think about things that have been tested and you can, really scale, it makes a difference. I'll give you an example because I've been doing this for 12 years. And understanding with SEO, it's crazy. And this is something I've noticed, right? And it happened to a lot of clients before, and we just here we go again. There's a time we tried to connect a client's website, and we needed to change the name server throughout the DNS record. This is going to be a little technical, but you'd have to hear this so that whenever it happens, you won't be like, huh? DNS stands for domain name server. So in that name server, you have records, right? You have an A record, you have a TXT record, you have a CNAME record, which is a canonical name record. You have records that are going to identify with your domain. And those are up at the back end. When you send emails as a business, when you have a work email from Google Workspace, from Microsoft Outlook, from Apple Mail, wherever you send out your emails or receive them from as a business, you have to create something called a mail exchange record, which is called an MX record. That record is what you're adding to your domain name server so that you can receive signals. So when you get an email as a business, that email is coming to you because you created a signal from the server. So it just doesn't happen by happenstance. You have to create that experience and you have to connect it manually or automatically if you integrate it correctly. So when you connect these things, you're creating something called a language model. So if I'm sending an email to my email list, this is on the surface level, and I'm sending an email to my email list, and my email list is getting a link to my email, which is a link to my domain, which is the same as the email that I sent it from, because it could be info@domain.com, and you just send them to the same domain that has a link to a page. So your MX record, your A record, your TXT record, those records that are on the back end of your website have all been connected to Search Console once upon a time. You don't have to do this twice. It's like when you get the keys to your house, you don't get the keys to your house twice. So when you gain property, when you acquire property, when you have the title deed, when you have ownership rights, now you can decide to do what you want based on quality control and spreading and distributing. So as you're creating these experiences, that is the Search Console, because Search Console is the internet service provider for Google. So if you go to Google today, even Google themselves are connected to the Search Console. So who are you not to connect your website to Search Console? Yet, there are over 1.1 billion websites in the world, but not every website is connected to the Search Console. About 16% of those websites are active. And out of those that are active, not every one of them is updated. So when you start thinking about the 1% of the 1% of the 1%, you ask yourself, where do you lie in between that benchmark? Are you on the end of the curve? Are you at the beginning? Are you far from the middle? Are you far from finished? Where are you? And when you start to decide and say, okay, this is exactly what I need to be doing, then these are the things to focus on. So the basics of SEO is to make sure that your website is found online by search engines and AI. Right now, AI is huge. Just the other day, I was talking about this. Google just created a whole, if you're in the US and you're listening to this, they just released this across the United States where you now have Google AI mode, meaning that anybody that uses Google on their phones or their computers, they get AI mode as a response. About 64 to 70% of those responses that you get are coming from sources that are new. So if you already have a domain that is strong and you have an article that's expressing a conversational topic through a form of a blog or a video and audio, what you're creating is a multimedia format system that allows you to be scraped by the web, which now gives you more access to resources which can now be transformed through file extensions. So an MP4 is a video, that's YouTube. An MP3 is audio, that's podcast. A JPEG, a PNG, that's images. So when you start connecting these words, these file extensions into your arsenal, which is your website, then you start realizing it's not just a website that I have an intellectual property that can actually attract traffic. And people say, yeah, SEO is something that, it doesn't work, or it works, you have to wait for it to turn on the lights. I'm like, no, gone are those days. If you really know what you're talking about, and if I was to get a website today and start from scratch, I've seen it happen. A website from scratch, we build it up, it starts to build traction. A website that was totally off the surface turns on and now has 30,000 impressions a week. So it's you to figure out, okay, I have all this intellectual property, I have all this posts on social media. Who is watching the post that I made in 2022 today, 2025? And who will be listening to me tomorrow, 2026, with an episode that was published in 2024? Is that going to happen? Is it possible? Yes. How? You have to position yourself to make sure that you can add that value. So the basics of SEO is connect your website to the search console. Connect your website to Bing Webmasters. When you do these things, Mo, we'll definitely love to hear from you when you're back. Connect your website to the search console and connect it to Bing. When you connect these two platforms, you're creating a song online. Let me just say it like that. You're creating a song online. How are you creating a song? You're creating a song because your song is being sang on Google and it's being sang on Bing. How is your song being sang? Your song is being sang because you submitted your song to the radio for people to listen to you, right? I'm from an entertainment business background, so I can also use this analogy. So if I submit to a radio station and this radio station is going to play my song, it's because they're playing it due to the fact that I submitted it to them. If they did not submit or create a submission request or even allow me to submit my audio file, there's no way the DJ would be spinning that record because it wasn't submitted. So if you use the same analogy for your website and say, I'm going to connect my website to Google Search Console, meaning that I'm going to submit my website to the source file that is going to get me access to people who are going to listen, because people listening to that radio station, there could be 1 million people. People are on Google, those are billions of people. So when you think about the billions of people and you think about the connections you're creating, your question now becomes, how do you translate this into value? How do you translate this into quality? How do you translate this into responses? So when you now connect your website, you have to think about connecting your website to this platform. So when you connect them, the ball is now in their court, because what you've done is you've submitted it. You say, hey, here's my submission. Is it good? Yes. Is it good? No. How is it going to be good? How will we know? How we're going to know is when it goes to the performance tab. Now, if I write 5 articles and those 5 articles are submitted, that means I have 5 ways to connect with people online, meaning that I can have 5 pages on my website that can be totally active and simultaneously consumed online from completely 5 different set of IP addresses, meaning that 5 different people, it could be on a device, it could be in a country, state, city, zip code, district, in home, out of home, it's available. It's there because it's fresh and Google approves it, Siri approved it, Alexa approved it, ChatGPT approved it. Why? Because it's available to you. And that happens because it's fresh information. That's why when you read the news and something happened for the first time, or there's a headline news and you go and type something, you see that right there. It says 38 minutes ago, or it says 2 hours ago, it says 5 hours ago. Why? Because it's being indexed. There's traffic. There's keywords. If I didn't type those keywords, I will not get to that search box. I will not even get to that results page. But because I'm getting to the results page, it's because I preset the condition that if somebody types this, then this is going to be the result. How? Because I put images, videos, text, context that allowed me to relate with this text, which is in form of a keyword or phrase. So when I start connecting my website to the search console and I start connecting these dots, the more pages I submit, the more traffic I get. It just makes sense. The more you put into your investment, the more you make your dividends from. You can't put $10 and expect 1,000 or expect 1,000,000. There has to be a measuring stick. There has to be a yard of balance. There has to be an equilibrium. That's possible, but the chances of that happening are outrageous. But anything is possible. But at the end of the day, you have to tactically create the strategy to make it even a forecast in the first place. So SEO Basics is handling that in a very robust way. Another thing you have to think about, and I'm going to add AI into this so that you can also see how important this is. After you've connected your website to the Google Search Console and also to Bing, yes, connect it to Google Analytics. If you have Matomo Analytics, you can do that too. If you want to pay for it, great. The next thing you want to do is to generate or submit a sitemap. This is one place a lot of people get to confuse between what is a sitemap what is a domain, what is hosting, what is a website. I've explained all those. Now, what is a sitemap? A sitemap is, I always say it like this. A sitemap is the brain of your website. It's a brain. If you see a body without a brain, it's not going to be very literal with the example so you can actually see this, because it's not far from what meets the eye. Sometimes SEO sounds like it's Greek, but it's really ABC if you really just connect the dots. Analogies, but very simple analogies to also look at. If there's a body without a brain, then there's no function of the body, because the brain needs functionality from the body to react. So if your website does not have a sitemap, it means that your website has a body, which is the website, the domain, the hosting, the aesthetics, the buttons, everything looks clean, great. But the brain is missing. Why? Because there's no sitemap. Why? This is a sitemap that is transmitting signals. When you have a brain, you're using it to transmit signals, right? Electromagnetic waves. When you think about the neuroscience of the brain, right? There are things that are happening. So if you think about the same thing happening with your website is turning on a brain. Why? Why is it even a brain in the first place? Because the brain of the website has product links, category links, tag links. It has blog links, it has site links. And what are those links? Homepage, about page, contact page, product page, category page. This is a product description. Here's the image of the page. Here's the upload of the image. Here's the size. Here's the color. These are all attributes and elements that contribute to the fulfillment of that product. If you're buying a product and you don't know whether it's a size 5 or a size 7, you're not going to buy that product because you don't know the specification. You like that shoe, but you can't wear it because you don't know what size it is, because it's not applicable or even visible to you. But when those things are available, the price, the size, the color, everything is there in detail. It's easy for you to make a purchasing decision. It's much clearer. Money loves clarity, right? Speed loves clarity. You want to go this way? All right, this is the way. So you have to think about that as a website owner, as a business owner. So when you have this sitemap, that sitemap is a brain. And how do you fill the brain? You know, we say we are what we eat, right? You feed your brain with what? Books, studies, podcasts, coaching. These are things that you feed your brain on that give you empowerment, because you learn new things every day. I always like to learn something new every day. So if you're doing the same thing for your website, how is your website learning something new every day? Because you're creating new website pages, and those website pages are talking about topics that people are asking. When you go to Google, why is Google popular? Because Google answers questions. So when you go to questions that people are frequently asking on websites like Google, like Bing, like ChatGPT, and you say, hey, here are the things that my audience always asks me about whenever they come to see me in a store, online, or just connect with my business. Create 5 topics per month that focus on the seasons and how we can also discover their solution as a business, providing them with blogs in form of topics that we can discuss. When you do that, you get topics that people are going to be asking these same platforms you are asking. Same difference. When you now get those answers, you now put those answers in form of blogs. You want to read more, you want to dive deeper, you want to read more, here are related products, click here, click here, click here. By the time people are clicking through, if somebody's spending an hour on your website and they've gone through 4 pages, they've gone through your product page, they've gone through your blog page, they've probably gone through your policy page, and now they're in your checkout page. That took an hour out of their day, or that might have been an hour they've split across the whole week. They're spending 10 minutes today, 10 minutes tomorrow, 10 minutes the next day, 20 minutes the next day. Before you know it, they've spent a whole hour, and now they're like, okay, this person is legit. I like their emails. I like what they stand for. I like who they are. I love their stand. I just love them. And okay, let's try them out. Then you try them out. They're actually more than what you expected. And then you start reading their articles, you join their group, you start traveling, meeting people. That's how people get to connect. It starts off with that seed. Keywords are seeds online. The same way words that we talk to people and we speak on are seeds. You speak to somebody, you tell them who they are. Those are seeds. You're talking and you're telling them because they're hearing, they're receiving it. So if your website has a sitemap, The sitemap has a brain. And because we connected those DNS records earlier, that's what the brain is transmitting: signals, keywords, phrases, images. Oh, okay, we have 5 blogs. Those 5 blogs are in the sitemap because there's a blog sitemap that actually transmits blogs to the web. So if somebody's looking for cake recipes, somebody else looking for turkey recipes, because there's a blog about turkey and a blog about cake, those are the articles that will show up on the search results because you have a library of information that is recent that somebody can actually see because you submitted it to Google. That's how you're able to create a sitemap. Now, when you create a sitemap as a website builder, whenever you have a website, if it's WordPress, you'd have to create a sitemap. It's not automatically generated. Now, a sitemap is automatically generated from like a Wix, from a Shopify, from a Squarespace. You can automatically get a sitemap. And how do you know your sitemap? If you've never seen it, if you have a sitemap, it will be your website.com or dot whatever it is. Like my website is www.playinc.online/sitemap, one word, SITMAP dot XML. XML stands for expandable markup language. What does that mean? You're opening up the source file of your website. And every website has a sitemap. Any website you see that is on Google, any website you hear from Siri, any website you hear recommended from Alexa or from ChatGPT or from Google, wherever you go on the web, those links that you are getting reference to or linked to are because they had once upon a time been submitted to the index, meaning that they were submitting their websites to those algorithms to make sure that they're within those libraries of context, that if somebody searches for something, you find it. Just like you go to your Microsoft Word and you hit find, you're looking for a word in your document, that's how you're found. That's the same thing and the same concept that happens on the cloud server, on the web, on the World Wide Web. So if you want to be part of the World Wide Web and get this right, these are some things to think about as a business. So I want to go into copy, and I want to go to you, Modub, and ask you this. When it comes to copy, because we've talked about the technical, how people see things, but if they're reading things and it doesn't make sense to them, all these things I'm talking about are going to be irrelevant because it has to have an emotional connection. There has to be a logical and a clear explanation. So how does someone also achieve that, knowing that this is also one of the important things to handle as a business?
Okay, good question. So one of the things I'll say with your copy, right, and your content is less is more, right? And what you want to do with that is you want to start every sentence with a verb or an adverb, right? Because that's an action word. It helps them with their skimming or whatever. But a couple format things you really want to keep in hand. Number one, you want to have a headline for every paragraph, right? On your website, on your blog, on your emails, you want a headline for every paragraph for the people that skim, so it's something to catch their eye, right? You want to use the H2 or the H3 for that. Number two is you got to have an impact statement up front and at the end, right? Back in school, we used to call them like thesis statements, right? What it's about, and then boom, close it. But in between, like each sentence, right? No matter where it is in this, in your content, never have any sentence that's longer than 10 words, right? Well, that's just a general guideline, but 10 words or less, because that's in short, easy to bite segments, and then boom, 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 right? If the sentence is going to be longer than 10 words, what you might want to do is transition to bullet points, right? So like if you got a whole list of things, don't just like 10 things in a comma, just put 10 things in the bullet point, right? So that chops it up. Also make use of white space, right? So instead of one big block of text, break it up, right? So break it up into 2 or 3 different texts, paragraphs or whatever. So now you can split that up as well. So each paragraph is no longer than 3 to 5 sentences max, no sentence longer than 10 words. Those are the general guidelines for every piece of content that I suggested you write. With that, I'll close the mic, brother.
Thank you so much for that, Mo. That's deep. That's very important because what's going to keep somebody on the page is the copy, the context, and the message, the call to action. It's it's something that we should definitely consider, because when people are reading, especially that line text, it's important, because if I see a description box and it's full of a block of text, like it has 10 lines of text, there's no break point, there's no bold, there's no italics, there's no period, there's no semicolon, there's no apostrophe, there's no hyphen, there's nothing to break the text apart. It's going to be very hard for someone to read or skim through that, and not everyone is going to do it. So to make it easy, like you said, is just to break it up. And it's even easier that way, even when you write articles, because when you write these articles I've been talking about, writing them in listicle formats are fast. Because if you're going to say, hey, here are 5 ways to improve your social media. Number 1, know your audience. Number 2, understand why they're here. Number 3, choose the platform you want. Number 4, choose all these media types you want to do. Number 5, launch and, make sure that you connect with people after you comment. These are very random 5 points I've just given you. Hey, Easy and Queen, Johanna, Tim, Joe, Ripple, Ishman, Richard, Carl, Angry, just want to acknowledge you. Thanks for being here on a Saturday. All these things that you see here in Caleb too, all these things that you see here are all keywords, right? They're all phrases. They're all matches that people are using to find and connect back with you. Now, here's a catch. If all these keywords are being mentioned and you're nowhere to be seen in any of these sentences or phrases, it's hard for someone to connect with you, because when you have all these listicles, these are the same listicles that ChatGPT is going to get responses to. So if you have all these 5 points, and now out of these 5 points, like Mo said, you have H2s and H3s. Those are headings, subheadings, and subheadings of the subheadings, right? When you have those things, you're creating a structural page. And why is your page structured? It's not because you put bold or italics that makes it a heading tag, because there's some websites I've seen, just building websites, I've seen sometimes when you turn it from 24 pixels or 24 points or 24 size to, let's say, 48 size, because it's a big word doesn't mean that it's a H1. Because some people think H1 means that it's big. No. H1 means that it's accessible as a heading. When somebody reads that, it's a heading, tag. When it's screen read, it's screen read as a tag. You can make it even 8 points or 8, size, font size, and it's still a H1. It's still possible, but the goal is, can it be read? Can it be seen? Is it visible? Even when you build a website, if your font size is small, it may not look really good on some websites or some screens that have a small resolution or a big resolution. Let's say you have an 80-inch TV and you're creating a website for a 50-inch TV. You're not going to have the same resolution, the same impact, because the words are going to be pixelated. It's going to be not the best. So when you're writing these things and you're building these things, these are the basics, that it has to be legible. When you send an email, let it be in a way that someone can read, that someone doesn't have to squint to see. Because if they have to squint to see, you're giving them more work, which is more energy, which requires more time. And essentially you're losing time, because now their time is wasted because of you. Instead, you could have just increased the size by 4 points. Now they can read. They don't even need their glasses. And now they can read what you're saying, and they can understand the message and take action. So these are the basics. These are like the simple basics that we should know. But I like to say them so that they're not ignored, because when they're said as basics, it makes more sense. Go ahead, Mo.
Yeah. Let me put this in a different way too, right? Because as Favour was saying, when you use the H2, the H1 tags, H3 tags, the Google web crawlers, they read that, right, and they index that. So, for example, when if you phrase it as a question or whatever, um, it'll show up in the search results, right? Because if you do a search for everything, you'll see a section that says people also search or people search next, right? These are the questions that get answered, and Google's going to view that as relevant. So, and another reason why, like you said, you want to get their attention to stop the scroll, right? We've all heard this phrase before, leaving money on the table. If you don't stop the scroll, you're leaving money on the scroll, right? Because if you don't get them to stop and pay you any attention, you'll never get them to pay you any money. So these are little content tricks that me and Favour know that's going to help get you paid. And because what we do for our business, that's the only reason we read that block of text, right? Because that could be a potential customer for us, or because it's our client, hey, we got to tell them, hey, break this up. What is this doing here? That's crazy. You know, fix this so we can help make you some more money, right? So that's the only reason me and Favour are going to read that. Like, if you weren't a client of mine or a customer of mine, I'm just out, right? I'm not invested in this. So these are little small things that we tell you. It's the fundamentals, as Favour was just saying, the basics. Once you get the basics right, you'll stop making money by mistake, right? And I'll say that again. Stop making money by mistake because you don't know the basics, and then you'll start making profits on purpose. With that, I'll close the mic.
Facts. Thank you for saying that. Keywords are seeds. When you plant an apricot seed, a guava seed, a pomegranate seed, that's what you're going to get. But if you plant it in the wrong field, in the wrong climate, in the wrong house, in the wrong greenhouse, then there's going to be a problem somewhere along the line. So I love that you said that, because these words that we're using they're heavy. There are some words that actually have weight. Like if I say this word will carry more weight because it's more common, or it's more popular, which even a perfect segue is going to the second part of the SEO basics and the checklist, which is keyword research. Keyword research is important because if you can't do keyword research, it's going to be hard for you as a business to grow. I'm telling you these things for free because on my podcast, I get feedback. People say that my podcast is barrier-free information and they get binge-worthy content, which is a blessing because I'm telling people, hey, go here, go here, go here. There's no gatekeeping. So that when you go there and you get stuck, that's when you know, okay, there's a reason why there's direction and guidance to places like this. Because I can tell you, hey, go do this. But if you don't know how to do it correctly, how are you going to do it? Like I was telling someone the other day, I was in a room the other day and I was mentioning that if you didn't know this, it's very important to water your plants with, this is so unrelated, but it's very important to also know this too. It's good to water your plants with warm water instead of cold water if you want plants, if you do planting, right? You should already know this, but if you didn't know this, that's something new for you to know. You may not understand why I even know this or why you should know this, but it makes more sense. It adds color because you're able to know, okay, this does this, this does that. That's how basic it is, right? So if you take that same instance, that same translation, and think about keywords, those keywords are keywords that people are going to use. And those keywords have importance. Prioritize them by search volume. Prioritize them by keyword difficulty. When you prioritize these keywords, welcome, Chica. When you prioritize these keywords, it means you're prioritizing information. Right now, on my website, the website you see above, a lot of people are asking for Pinterest content strategy. A lot of people want to learn how to do Pinterest better, Pinterest SEO. I sent out an email to our community. We're over 10,000. And I said, hey, do you guys want to learn more of Google SEO or Pinterest SEO? Pinterest is on the roof. I was like, what? Okay, so it makes sense. Search engine is telling me Pinterest. The community internally is saying Pinterest. People are asking requests for proposals on Pinterest. We're managing accounts on Pinterest. And we're like, okay, it's working. We go to the analytics. We see Pinterest is showing up as a source traffic. You can now run ads for half the price of what you would have spent on platforms that are way oversaturated like Facebook and Instagram. So you're like, okay, now we found the low-hanging fruit. How do we maximize results? Now you're able to understand that, okay, when you do zip code marketing, when you understand who you're connecting with, then it makes more sense. The podcast is also doing that too. Everything is making sense. And I'm like, okay, this graph is just going up and up and up and up. because of keyword research. So I'm prioritizing, and I know, okay, by definition, people who are looking for SEO or looking for something are going to be in this category. Why are they looking for SEO on a podcast? Because they're probably business owners. They're probably people who are looking to hire. They're probably looking for information to learn how to do it themselves. You never know what people are looking for until they tell you. So you might just be here trying to get information so you can do it for yourself, or you might be trying to outsource information to know who's the best person to hire. So it can be any way it can go. At the end of the day, the goal is to make sure you have an understanding that, okay, if I go this route, it's because of this and this. If I do this, it's because of that. There's an if-then clause. So when I think about this long term as a business, your goal is to also understand, okay, are these people also doing the same things? When you have a keyword, what is your keyword? Even as a brand, you need to have your brand as a keyword. If someone types your business name online, can your website show up? Do you have a sitemap on your website that can say, hey, if you want to go to login, careers, food, locations, you can see everything on Google as a website before you even go to the website that you're linking to. These are things to look out for. So if you have these keywords, that means you're going to be in the right places. And then you have the right audiences. The reason why people say they don't have the right audience is because they're talking to the wrong people. That's a simple fact. The reason why you're having the wrong audience is because you're talking to the wrong people. If this topic of the room today was not an SEO checklist and I was talking about garden potatoes and tuna sandwich, would you be in this room? I don't think so. Would you be listening to this? I don't think so, because that is totally outside your plan, or even thinking, I don't want to learn about that. I don't even eat that. That's because that keyword that you read made you feel that type of way. So because you read SEO checklist explained, you're like, okay, let me understand why. So you're coming in to understand the concept. So you've already seen that there's a preconditioned way of understanding the information, because if I don't explain this to you, then that's a disservice, and that's a wrong thing because the brand promise was not achieved. So if it's explaining a concept and saying, okay, why is this important? Because this is important, like this, like that, then it makes sense. So that way you're able to go back thinking, okay, now I see why keywords are important. Now I see why my domain is important. Now I see why my hosting is important. Now I see why file naming is important, making sure that the right keywords are being seen. I'm spacing my words at the right place, and I'm also putting structure that allows me to get that to the door. So that's based on keywords. They are non-branded keywords and they're branded keywords. If I'm looking for Airbnb photography pricing, we did that with a client. If you type in right now Airbnb photography pricing, you're going to see our client on the top search, both on AI overview and also on Google. Shout out to him. His name is David Pizzat. Check him out. Great photographer. If you type in Texas Airbnb photographer or pricing, you will see him there. So he's literally taking control of the whole state in that niche. He's never run ads from the day we turned off Google ads, because he was spending money for the same keywords he's getting for free 2 years in. So you do the math. Do you want to save money, or do you want to spend money on keywords that you don't even know how they're performing? Because these keywords that you're playing or paying for or paying with are keywords that could have been rooted into your directory as a file, as a link that says your domain.com / what you're paying for, marketing -tips. Now that is an actual keyword you can send as an email. That's equity. That's brand equity. So when you think about your business like real estate online, what's going to make you have a higher output or a higher value or a higher increase is the higher in density you are, based on how you're able to give people information, how you're able to also disseminate it. So when you do that, it helps people to understand much better. So that's keywords. On page is another thing you have to think about. On page SEO, that's another checklist you have to think about. Are you optimizing your images for SEO? Meaning, and when people say optimize your image, I'm not meaning that you change it from JPEG to PNG. That's not optimizing. You can do that, but that's not the holy grail of optimizing. Optimizing an image means that if I took a picture with my camera and I now went and put a hard drive or an external drive, and I went to a memory card, and I now was able to download it into my computer, Now I have a folder that says dsc_001.jpg. That's a photo that may be about 2 megabytes, 3 megabytes. That's the same photo that you want to use on your website as a hero shot or as a video or a photo, depending on what you're using it for. Now, if that image is 2 megabytes, that is too big, too big, too big, and completely not acceptable. Because if you do that, this is what's going to be sounding like on your website if your website had a sound machine. Why? Because the image is so huge that if I don't have Wi-Fi network service and I'm trying to load up this page, because of this 2 megabytes in the way, I gotta eat through this, meaning that, because when you think about internet speed, there's upload speed and there's download speed. If we go to the basics. So if it's gonna take me 5 minutes to upload this image on this web server because I have a download speed that is less than half of the percentage I need, then I'm not going to enjoy this experience. Guess what? I'm going to leave the website. I'm going to bounce. That bounce is a record. Means that you're telling someone that somebody came to your site, it didn't load, or it loaded, but it didn't fully finish. And now I can't see this image because it's too big. Now imagine if you have 10 products in your store and each of them are 2 megabytes. That's 20 megabytes of data that you could save. It's like you could use that 20 megabytes for something else. You could use that for something else. But you decided to put it into something that is not guaranteeing you anything that is progressive. Yes, the image looks beautiful. It's high quality, but it's the wrong size. So you go to a website like compressor.io, and you compress that image. If it's up to 10 megabytes, compress it into a lossless format. That 2 megabytes is going to turn into 400 kilobytes, 600 kilobytes. You can take that same image in the same quality, but at a lesser image file size, which now makes you have more. So let's say you have 2 megabytes in your floppy disk. You know, back in the day with floppy disks, how like you have to create space. If you have this document, it's 250 kilobytes. The other one is 15 kilobytes. You want to see, okay, how am I going to turn this 10 kilobytes into 100 kilobytes? That's what you're doing with your images on your website, because your website has a hosting, and that hosting has a bandwidth, and that bandwidth has a size. So if you're going to clog up the size with images that are going to take a lot of space, you're slowing down the bandwidth and the speed of your website, right? So how to optimize that is make sure you have pages that are fast. Faster pages lead to faster reactions. Faster reactions lead to faster checkouts, faster opt-ins, faster. Right? So when you optimize your images, meaning that you recompress that. So by the time you compress that image, now it's less than what you put in, and now it has more value because you're able to have it at a faster rate. You rename that file with the keywords. So you can't do on-page SEO without keyword research. That's why I'm doing this SEO checklist from the basics to keyword research. Now we're on page, because on page, you have to optimize the images. If you're uploading products, if you're uploading your profile picture, if you're uploading images that you want to use as AI or whatever it is, stock images, they're all going to have an image file name. And all those image file names that you're submitting are going back to where we started in the beginning, going to the sitemap. So that sitemap is going to be important because everything you're submitting to the sitemap is technically the brain of the sitemap. So the more images, the more links, the more videos, the more things you upload, the more that you're able to put in. If you put in your LinkedIn, your link, your Facebook, your Twitter, your or X, your other websites, your corresponding pages, and you're putting that on your website, you're technically telling Google when you submit it to the index that, hey, I have these links, and these links are available for this reason. And because they're available for this reason, please index them in that way. So that's something that really gives you long-term benefit as a business when you think about on-page SEO. Think about internal links. I've just talked about external links. External links means that you're sending people away from your website. So if you're sending them away from your website, people say, oh, I don't want to send people away from my website. Well, you can do that, and you can send them to a website link that you are featured on, or you can send them to an external link, which is a product link, maybe that you're featured on another page, or you could even simply send them to your social media. That's an external link. Why? Because somebody's clicking away from your domain to another domain. They're leaving your domain.com to linkedin.com. That's like house jumping or house hopping, right? If I move from this tab to this tab, it means I'm moving from this house to this house. So anytime you look at your tabs on your phone, if you look at tabs on your desktop, those are houses you're in. If we really think about it, those are houses you're living in. Why are you living in those houses? Because you're active, because you're live, because you're clicking, because you're reading, because you're scanning. That's live web activity. That's what's going to guarantee that person. So anytime your tabs are open, indirectly you're telling somebody that this page is relevant, that I can't close it, which is giving somebody else more watch time, which ultimately increases their chances of ranking, because now that average time increases, and that also allows them to get more authority and space on the web. So I'm just giving you very basic examples so that when you think about these things, when you hear them, you're like, oh, okay, that makes sense. Okay, now I see why this links to that. So it's something that you also have to look into as well. Thanks for being here, Sandy, Barack, Mary V. I see you as well. Thanks for being here. Mo, would you like to add anything when you think about these specific phrases and also tactics to be very specific on how you deliver information online?
Yeah, as you just said, specificity. Can't even talk today, but being very specific is the key, right? Because people are searching for specific things, right? They're not searching for, how to build a house if they're looking for how to build an apartment building, right? They're looking to build a house, right? Even though it's similar, but it's still very specific, right? How to build a boat, how to build a submarine, right? Those are two different things. So, but the more you speak to what they're looking for, that's the more value you bring. The more value you bring, the more they stay. The more they stay, um, the more loyal they become, right? So that's always the key, right? You got to bring that value. I mean, I tell people all the time, their content has to have three things. It has to have a solution because they're searching for a problem. You got to bring that value, and the value has nothing to do with the price. The value has to do with how well that solution fit into their life, right? Or even if it wasn't their life, right? So Favor doesn't need it. Favor doesn't have a content problem, but he might, but he knows Richard and Richard does. So he might refer my content over to Richard. That's what I mean by value. And the last thing, you got to give them directions, right? Very specific directions. Like follow me on Facebook, join my Facebook group, subscribe to my YouTube channel, right? Everything has to be very specific and give them one thing to do, right? One very specific thing to do, because if you give them choices, you might confuse them. Confused minds do nothing. So just keep that in mind, right? To be as very detailed as possible in as few words as possible. So, it's a trick, but you'll get the hang of it. Just keep practicing.
I love that. Thank you, Mo. Practice does make perfect, and I keep practicing myself. There are articles this week that I published back in 2021 that I had to update in 2025, just yesterday, because I started getting alerts that, okay, this is information that people are looking for, so I had to go back in and update it. That now refreshes the cycle for another 24 months. So these little incremental things that we do, yes, they may not look like we're moving boats and ships and Titanics, but underground, algorithm wise, your numbers will start to actually double, compound, because you're focusing on topics, you're answering questions, you're creating pages, you're indexing them, you're allowing them to take some time to really surface. And especially if it's a new website, take at least 2 weeks. Just to give you some time measures, if you have a new website or if you have a new page on your website, give it 2 weeks. And don't just sit on those 2 weeks. Those 2 weeks, within at least the first 24 hours, send it out to LinkedIn, put it out on X, send out an email, connect with people, give them bite-sized information, and then give it 2 weeks to mature. You will realize, especially when you send out emails in that context, you'll start to get more feedback. Like to the point where I even know what my community likes in the during the day, what food they like. That's how deep I'm connected to them, because I remember asking them a question, and I always do a poll. I was like, what's your favorite meal of the day? Is it breakfast, lunch, dinner, or is it brunch? And brunch was the least, which was very surprising. Lunch was the highest, right? And then I think it was breakfast and then dinner. So I know what people like. So if I have a brand that comes to us and say, hey, we got this breakfast products or we got this lunch products, I know very well they're going to eat it because they have time to eat something. And if I'm going very specific, I know what music they like. I'm able to really detect those things because I'm asking them. I'm not just sending you emails, hey, buy now. We do pull marketing, no pushing. Because if we pull you in, it means you actually came in out of consent. It because you said yes to the cause. It's because yes, I need help. Yes, I raised my hand. Not, oh, whose hands are being raised? Can you put your hand up? Put your hand up. Put your hand up. That's a lot of energy, and I don't have time for that. We don't have time for that. We want to make sure that you understand what you're doing. So when you do raise your hand, you have an information based knowledge of what you're looking for. So when you apply that information, it's easier for you to take action because you actually know the base. So that's what we do, and that's what we like to see, because that also allows you to feel free and also learn from us too as well. So on-page SEO is important. Optimizing your images, your links are important. Make sure you have links to relevant content. Make sure you have your meta description. That's something that goes unannounced. Meta descriptions are like preview text on email. If I have a preview text in my email, and that is a very specific call to action that says, hey, scroll down to the bottom of this email to get the code, or do this to do that. You're giving them action steps. That increases your open rate. That improves your click rates. You're giving people things that they should actively do. Like, for example, I sent an email earlier this week and it was Google SEO versus Pinterest SEO. I did a poll. Now I know what people want. They want more Pinterest SEO. So that means I'm going to have more topics about Pinterest, because the more they know, the more they're able to understand. They're not ready to buy. They're not ready to put their hand up, but they're ready to understand. So when you're ready to understand and then you're ready to buy, you're buying from a point of perspective that is out of knowledge. You're not just buying haphazard. You're not window shopping. You're not impromptu shopping. You're not just impulsively shopping. You're shopping because you have a goal, you have an agenda, you have a mission, you have a dream, and you have something to achieve. You have a milestone to cover. So that's how I was able to ask them, and I was able to know that. So I said, okay, here you go. In the preview text, I said, scroll down to the bottom of this email and there's a surprise for you. That's what I did. And what was the surprise? I was already talking about Google versus Pinterest, and then I just gave them a layup, and I said, hey, when you scroll down, and I even at the bottom of that thread, I said, I'm glad you got here. Like, because you have to also be very active and responsive, because when they do that, they have to feel like they're being heard and they're being seen and they're being remembered. If you miss out on those three things, it's going to be a deflating balloon very soon. So when they got to the bottom of the email, I actually attached a video from Google Marketing Live. Google just did a keynote, just like the way Apple does presentations. Google just did that this week. And a lot of people may have not known that, but I got access to it like 2 weeks ago. I was sent an invite and I was told, hey, you have access to this, RSVP. And I said, okay, when it's time, I'm gonna watch it. So Google is changing before our eyes as we see it happen. Now, a lot of people don't know this, but it's happening. So I said, okay, here's a video. Watch the video. So I even tagged the section, and I know how many people clicked on that YouTube thumbnail. That tells me who were interested. And then the people who said Pinterest, I know who they are. So when I see them going into these segments and I'm understanding my audience, I'm not just saying, hey, who likes this, who likes that, so that I do nothing. The goal is, once I know what you want, then I'm going to bring it. There's the economies of scale, demand, supply. If I keep giving you bread and you're looking for cake, at some point you just feel like you're not listening, or you're not even responsive, or you're not active, and then that's just going to create that resentment, and that's going to lead to an unsubscribe, and nobody wants that. So when you start realizing that people are coming to you for help because it's something that you have that you can respond to, don't ignore that, because that's the very one thing that could actually take you to the next level. That's how you're able to think about it as a business. So that's what happens with on-page SEO. As a checklist, make sure that is in place. Right? Your meta descriptions, that's going to be the highlight of what you put in every page. And you have a section to do that. Your title tags are different from your meta tags. Completely different, right? Because when you think about your heading tags, that's a H1, H2, H3. Your title tags are the things that say meta title, right? Or meta name, because those are meta descriptions, or those are meta inputs that people are able to see on the page. There's off-page SEO. That's another one too. Off-page SEO, if you have a Google business profile This is for reviews, for research, for, just getting more feedback. I would even say to the point where if you have backlinks, that could also help, because this is where you're able to understand and know, okay, I'm showing up on this platform, on this platform, on this. Extensively, it gets you to the point where you really get to know, okay, this is where I need to be. Sometimes people say, oh, because I'm a service-based business, how can I get reviews? You can. Go to Trustpilot. Go to business.trustpilot.com. Have a work email address. Put that in there. Even if you have a BBB, Better Business Bureau, go there and claim your business. And then let people leave reviews on those platforms, so that when people talk about you on those platforms, you're using those platforms as off-page SEO. Why is it off-page SEO? Because when people leave a comment and say that bagel was amazing or that pizza was the best, that's because those words, best pizza, amazing, are things that people are looking for to actually make a decision. When you go to Amazon and you're buying something from the cart or you're about to purchase, you check out the reviews and see how many reviews. Am I satisfied with what people are saying enough for me to purchase this for myself to experience the same thing? Yes, no. That's going to be the yardstick you're going to use. If that yardstick is not yarding, it's not going to go anywhere. So your goal is to make sure that you are creating the experience for people to see, so that eventually when they come back, they're like, okay, this person answered 5 questions that I've been trying to figure out. Now I understand all these 5 answers, and now it makes sense. So that allows me to now make a decision, which allows me to make a purchase. So these are the things you have to think about. Welcome, Maria. So your goal is to really understand the value of asking yourself, are all these things I'm talking about done? Yes, no, maybe. We don't know. Let's find out. That's the whole point of SEO. SEO is not a one-time fixer. You don't brush your teeth once a year. You don't shower once a year. The same way you don't do SEO once a year. Because this is an ever-growing thing. AI yesterday is not AI today. AI tomorrow is not going to be AI from today. So if you're optimizing for these platforms for today, the same way you plant a tree today for tomorrow is the same way you plant a seed with a keyword today on your website for tomorrow's access, because you don't get traffic until you have access. Why is there access? Why is there even traffic in the first place? Because there's a road. If there was no road, there will be no traffic. So why are we on the road? Because there's traffic. We got to go somewhere. So when you understand these concepts as a business and ask yourself, is my website driving traffic? In the literal sense, you're asking yourself, is my website bringing people that are asking these questions online to my website as a source of exchange of information that allows me to be validated as the eligible trust finder, or the person that actually allows me to connect back? That's up to you. If you use Google Business Profile, that's great, because that also allows you to have off-page SEO. You can connect your web links there, your social links there for people to see. So these are great things to think about as well. Content SEO is also important. When you have table of contents, when you update your old content like I talked about before, when you grab attention with bold sentences, right? When you have headings and subheadings, we've talked about that today, have amazing intros. Those are things that are very important to look out for. Because when you talk to people and you're connecting with them as a conversation as opposed to talking at them, they'll feel like you're connecting with them. If somebody's talking at you for 5 minutes, at some point, something's going to snap. It might not even take up to 5 minutes. You're probably going to have been snapped from inside. So, or crash out, however you want to say it. But at the end of the day, your goal is to make sure that person leaves better than when they came. So if they came to your website and your website is slow, it's loading, the wrong links are clicked on, the buttons are taking you to the wrong pages, that's a bad experience already, and that person's not going to come back. But if it's a great experience that you give them more than they came for, sign up here, or here's 10% off, or even better yet, sign up and get 20% off, or we have complimentary calls. They'll be like, oh wow, look at all this candy. Let's have a conversation. Now they feel like they're part of it. I was telling a client yesterday, and I was telling them what we're going to be doing, because we also do e-commerce, optimization for your store. They have a Shopify store, and we're telling them, hey, and it didn't make sense to explain it 3 times. And she was like, oh, I get it now. And I told her, instead of saying free shipping above $100, say we cover your shipping over $100, meaning that they have to purchase to the point where they get to over 100. Let's say it's $102. Now we can cover your shipping. But if you say free shipping over $100, it's kind of like saying, oh, you got to add this to this cart until it gets to $100. So psychology wise, marketing wise, you're pushing them away because now they have to do things for free, quote unquote, to get free responses, as opposed to saying we cover your shipping with $100 over, meaning that it's like saying, oh, we're gonna secure your car with insurance over this amount. It makes a difference in the sale. It makes a difference in the conversation. Those little things go a long way. And that's not the only thing that's going to change everything, but little things incrementally make a decision and actually make you better than you were before. So we do all these things into Google Merchant, Bing, whether you're a local business, international business, we work internationally with people. And it's a great experience because I learn more from my clients than they learn from me. So that's why I love being here and I love doing this. Maria, she's just but this is something that you have to think about as a business and ask yourself, hey, am I doing this for the right reasons? Am I doing this? We'd love to hear from you. Thank you for joining, and that's such a beautiful baby you have in your hand. How are you?
Hi, thank you so much, Favour. Doing really well. This is my first time back on Clubhouse in a very long time when I used to pray for this little baby to be in my arms. So I'm very happy. I was just talking to a friend on Telegram about Clubhouse and how amazing it was and great for leads. And I've come back with, I'm back here now with, a year of mentorship and copywriting under my belt. So I was just like clapping for you as you were saying the little tweaks in your wording makes a huge difference, especially like in the psychology point. We think that everybody wants things for free, but in reality what we're signaling is that we are cheap sometimes when we provide. We're looking for like a high ticket off buyer, but we're offering them for something for free. And I was just talking to the same friend about how free is actually this, like tasters, free experiences are actually the way to go, not a free, not actual, not free, like giving things away for free. Whereas like a free experience that allows your people to take the first step into your world, and giving them like permission to do that with your words by saying things like, you can reach out to me is a really it's just really fun, and I'm so excited to just even come in here and say that, like just say that there's so much power to the tiny way you say things, and it's so wonderful for business. I'm learning more and more about SEO, and I definitely, when I use AI, I'm like, wait, give me the SEO for this, because I don't want the clever copy. I want the clear copy that people are typing in. And I always say copywriting is copying the writing of the client that's sitting down and trying to find you. And so I'll give the mic back, but thank you so much for having me. I'm really happy to be here.
Thank you, Maria, and congratulations again. That's beautiful that you're back after. Wow, this is amazing. I had a feeling, sometimes when I have this gut feeling to do things, it's not because I want to do them. I just felt like a Saturday like today, I would love to be online, and look what happened. This is beautiful. I love to hear that, Maria. Thank you for joining us, and you're so right on that. People like free stuff. 4 years later, wow. You see, we've been in here for a long time, and it's so glad that people are coming back and connecting, because these are the keywords that bring people back in. This room is keyworded, 100%. If this room had a different keyword, we will not be this same capacity, this same room, this same size. So people are coming in and they're clicking. This is like a click-through rate. They're clicking into the room because they've seen that this is a keyword. So this is the literal example, the definition of what click-through rate does and what being intentional does as well. So I'm excited we're here today. Maria, did you want to say something? Thank you for being here, Fanny. Go ahead, Maria.
Oh, I just love what you're saying too, because it's rare that the reason why I'm in this space is because we're talking about marketing, we're talking about business. This is what like I came on Clubhouse to learn about in the very beginning, and those rooms kind of dissipated. You can't find them very much. I have so many followers. I'm not sure if like that's what's going on and how to reset it. But it really is just like there is no more conversations about the nitty gritty that like actually people want and desire. So that's what I was coming back in to be like, okay, what am I going to bring back to this space? Because I'm coming back. We need to go back there. It's wonderful. People are alive there.
Love that, Maria. I'll definitely connect with you offline so that we can definitely have some curation and some rooms here, at your available time, and, make sure we can connect and let people know how no fluff is important, because a lot of fluff is out there, and the more fluff it is, the more puffy it gets. And we don't want to have to look puffy in front of people when we should be looking healthy and ready to serve. So I'm really excited about this topic today. John, thanks for being here. Wanted to say hello real quick before we come to Ifani. How are you? Happy Saturday.
Happy Saturday, everybody. Hope have a great Memorial Day weekend. And I jumped in and I saw your room earlier and I couldn't make it, but I jumped in very quickly because I've been doing a lot of research. Favour knows that I've been making a lot of progress in the last couple of years, and SEO has a lot to do with it on our podcast, and the growth has been exponential. But the last month or two, I've been really focusing on, in addition to organic posts on social media, paid Facebook ads. And here's one thing that everybody should pay attention to. The industry standard for click to conversion ratios is anywhere from 2 to 5%. So that means if you do those scale, 2% of all the traffic you generate with SEO, social media, whatever you do, can turn into increased sales for you. So let's just say you do 10,000 web page visits a month. 2% of that can turn into sales. 1% we can tweak on to get the conversion rate higher, but that's where SEO really comes into play. And one of the things that I use quite a bit in Favour, and I've talked about this, is writing, what people call parasite SEO. I write articles on pages and websites that have high domain authority and develop backlinks with high domain authority. And there's a new one I'm writing on. I lost my access to Newsbreak, so here's a few. Medium.com. Medium.com has a really good high domain authority. You can get a free membership there. You can write your post there. You can write your blog post. You can embed your links there and get the advantage of that. LinkedIn is another one that's got really high domain authority, really high. You can write short articles there with a link at the bottom, read more, and develop access that way. Blogger.com, blogspot.com has a big domain authority, lots of users, same thing. And here's one I've been doing recently, and I don't know if I haven't talked to Favour yet about it, that you can check out. It's free to get a membership, free to write on, hubpages.com. Hubpages.com has a domain authority, last time I checked, of 83. So that's 4 locations you can write blog posts at, you can write articles about, and you can develop more backlinks. So again, why would you not want to get more traffic and eventually more sales, more conversions? Thanks, Favour. Hope you have a great weekend.
Thank you, John. Wow. Thank you so much for that insight. And I'm sure that helps a lot of people to just, figure out where you're putting your efforts and your time, because 1% every day, which could be one blog every day, one podcast every day, one email every day, one something every day, that you go back to sleep and say, I feel fulfilled, and somebody else feels fulfilled because you fulfilled them, because you fulfilled a query or you fulfilled a solution, then that's a good thing to feel when you think about your day, in retrospect. So I really appreciate you for bringing that in, John. Ifeanyi, thank you for being here today. It's been a minute. Hope you're well. We'd love to hear your thoughts, contributions, questions. Feel free. The floor is yours, and happy Saturday.
What's good, Favour? Happy Saturday. Hey, John. Hey, Maria. It's a pleasure to be here always. I just want to start with, this is the greatest era to be a creative. This is the greatest era to bring your vision to life. You can literally, just 2 days ago, you can literally, from words, create a cinematic video with sound and realistic interactions, like in one go. That's nuts. Or image generation or software creation. But and that's going to be forever the main driver of my ambition and passion for the future. But even to the topic of the room, my question to you, Favor, SEO, I think, is still going to be foundational moving forward. But I wonder what you think what your perspective is when it comes to how SEO applies to AI. For example, if you search my name in any AI agent, Ifeanyi Onubogu, be it Grok, ChatGPT, Gemini, it'll give you a complete, concise summary of who I am, and you'd notice that the main level of authority for that summary comes from my website. So I think SEO is taking an even bigger conversation, because now if you're a service provider, rest assured people are going to be asking ChatGPT to give them a summary about you, right? The question is, where is ChatGPT pulling that information from? Is it only going to be from Instagram or from LinkedIn? Or do you have a website that has authority on the web that can nominate you in whatever situation, whatever agent chooses to do a research on you? That's what I wanted to add.
Thank you, Fine. That's a great question. SEO and AI are like Siamese twins. Like they cannot be separated at all. People say, "Oh, because of AI, SEO is dead." That's a bad way to think about the future, because I believe that SEO is turning into thought leadership. Why? Because SEO in 2026 is not just going to be blogs. It's going to be a mixture of audio, video, and text. So if you have a podcast, you're in the green. If you have a YouTube channel that is connected to a website that actually generates traffic, you're in the green. The reason why ChatGPT, DeepSeek, Kimi, Perplexity, Harper, any of these platforms that are using AI to either have agentic searches or things that are going to be related to what you do is highly going to be based on your structured data. And that's why it's coming from your website. We even have a client who we started with them last month. They had zero traffic on the web, zero. They connected their website and everything, but it was zero. And they have a very great, amazing brick and mortar location. They do bariatric surgery in California. So it's like, okay, you guys have a location, people show up, but it's fine. But the reason why we need to fix this is because when they're asking DeepSeek or ChatGPT for bariatric surgeon near me, who are they going to refer to, and who are the people that we're referring to? So we had to create author pages on the site that we can submit, so that when Google or ChatGPT or Siri is asking or answering these questions, it's coming from a structured data standpoint. That's why schema is important. Yeah, people may say schema is not important, but if I have an event
Who says
page,
that? So they needs to be knocked or something.
right?
Banned.
That part. Because schema is literally markup language. Like if I'm talking to you in English and my English sounds like an encyclopedia, as opposed to it being just an ABC workbook, there's going to be a difference in response to what you're saying or how you respond back. So if you just have connections that allow you to be very structured based, and you say, okay, this is an event page, this is the date, this is the link, this is the price, are there reviews, this is a product, this is a recipe, this is an FAQ. These are structured, marked up languages. You can even ask ChatGPT to give you a markup language format of this thing and say, hey, give me a JSON key, format of this, and you put it into your website. These are things that I'm telling you for free that people are paying for, but it's not just a plug and play. Everybody can connect their phone to the charger and plug it on, but it's not everything underneath that's going on that you're aware of. So that's why I don't want you to just say, oh yeah, it just happens because you can just do it. Yeah, you can do it. Everybody can turn on the TV, but it's the way you do things that's going to affect the way things happen. So the same thing that Ifeanyi just talked about now with those structured pages, the reason why ChatGPT or any AI platform is referring back to his website is because your website has structured data. If your website was off today, ChatGPT will be looking for a third-party source to give the same information that is not enough or quantifiable to get you the same experience or response that you're getting. So in today's world, it's even more important. Even AI mode that just got released to the whole US just the other day, about let's say 48, 72 hours ago. Now that it's available, the new pages that AI mode is also moving are pages that are new. So if you wrote an article in 2023 and it was updated in 2025, that means you have your update to a 2025 edition. So if Google or ChatGPT asks a question and answers your link in the description box, that's because you have an updated feedback page that allows you to still stay credible. That's why I always say it's easier and faster to upload blogs and publish them at a faster rate so that later on in life, later on in the year, you can go back and just manually do it. So the hard work is in the beginning. You know how they say do the hard things first before you get to the easy things? That's SEO. You do the hard things first. You make sure you lay the foundation. You make sure that people get to know who you are. What is your about page saying? What are you talking about? Do you have a platform that people can connect you to? Do you have third-party sources that off-page SEO, on-page SEO we've talked about today that you can still be connected to? If not, then these platforms will be hard for you to get into. There's something called Google Learn About. You can Google it. It's called Google Learn About. And ask Google and ask if Google learns about you, and put your business name or put your business, mantra, or put in just your own name and see if Google learns more about you, or it will tell you what they've learned. How they'll know what they've learned about you is how much you've given them. Too much is given, much is required. So when you create a space on your website for people to connect back to you, it's because you're giving them a space for them to respond back. So to your question, Ifani, today's world, SEO is more important than ever, because if anybody is being responded to on ChatGPT or Alexa or Siri or even on Google AI mode, it's because they're coming from a source, and that source is a website. And if that website is not structured, then you can be first place. You'll probably be somewhere around the place, but you'll not be in position to actually be the person of reverence or even reference to get that feedback that people are going to look for, because now it's even tighter than before. It's no longer 5 or 3. You have to literally be in that top one, because Alexa may give you 5 options because you asked for 5 options. Are you part of that 5? If not, how can you be part of that 5? So there's some things to look out for and build out on that actually makes you to be in that top search. So it's a big deal, and it's a big question that requires a good answer. And Ifani, I hope I was able to answer your question.
Yeah, you did. Some technical difficulties over here. Yeah, but I'm also thinking about moving my website from Webflow to Framer. Doing the cost and benefit analysis at this moment. I like Webflow because it's closer to the developers. But then when I try to make changes on my website, it's kind of frustrating. Since I built my website, I haven't really changed much on the web page, and I think that's kind of limiting. So
Question.
I think I need to move all the way. I think I need to move to Framer for my marketing side.
How many pages do you have on your website right now?
I have a bunch. I think I have it's pages and sub pages, but I'll say about 10 pages for the individual services, and maybe another 8 for the business services. And that's the
Okay.
thing, right? So these pages, I haven't really done much work in driving traffic to these pages, but I'm even reevaluating the pages I need on a website, because I spent a lot of time building these pages one after the other. Of course, using tools like Railings and Wireframe and things like that. Building these pages one at a time, and built them. They're great, but nobody looks at them. I'm not driving any traffic to it. And even if people land on the website, they're only landing on the homepage. Nobody's really going in depth reading the other pages. So I might just put a chat bot in the homepage. Maybe on the bottom of the chat bot, it'll just be maybe about us, team. But that chatbot, if they can ask any questions about my business, who is Ifani? What kind of services do you offer? That way it's more engaging. And then if they ask the question and there's a marketing page relating to that question, the agent should be able to pull up a marketing page instead of having the traditional navigation of, well, click this button, click that. Because I'd rather people start with a question and then have the page or marketing material surface up to them, rather than have them surf the web page. Because I think that's not, because once I learn how to build websites, I look at websites now as just PowerPoints, active live PowerPoints, and we want to make a good first impression when people land on the website.
Thank you, Fanny. Great feedback on that. Yeah, it's important. You know, why I was even asking about those pages is because when you start migrating domain servers and links, it's important. We had a client that the Shopify, even Shopify doesn't know what happened. And these are horror stories I've been hearing for days, and God knows that, you know, sometimes when you think about SEO, yeah, it's permanent, but you have to also protect your data and also who has access to your data because I think she had a couple of other managers, and for some reason, someone pressed the wrong button. The next week, I come pages that she was generating 50 to 100,000 views a week all got deleted from her Shopify. And that was a whole tag that was deleted. So it literally went off the surface. And that just told me, yo, that's crazy. So what do we have to do? We had to like you said, some pages were driving traffic, some were not. So we had to now reevaluate and say which pages are and why, and then double down on the ones that are so that we can gain more traffic. Doing that allowed her to get 1,000 new subscribers in a month. What we did off what she lost. So I mean, for me, I like challenges because I'm like, okay, here we go again, and I'm able to understand these things. So if you're doing it and you've said, okay, we're going to move to Framer because of this cost effective, you've done your cost analysis, yeah, 100% do it. But like you said, when you move houses, you got to get ready for whatever is coming with the moving. So when you're done moving and you're settled, then you can say, okay, let's do it again. But that will take some time. And of course, when you're making that decision, you're not going to do that again till maybe 5-10 years, if you're even going to do it in the first place. So it's good to think about these things. SEO wise, it can be a very huge difference in turn, knowing that you have a website page that if somebody uses that same URL that they've been using for years and it has a 404 error, then that's going to have a bounce rate, which is going to affect your rankings. It's like credit. So you just have to think about how you manage all your portfolios, which are your links online.
Right, yeah, I know you mentioned ranking, but the big question, does ranking even matter anymore? Because nobody's like, the world has changed so much. Like using, um, like worrying about how much I rank on Google, I feel like is the least of my worries at this stage. Because I'm not gonna compete with, because I'm in financial services. I'm not gonna be able to compete with Morgan Stanley or Northwestern Mutual that would pay as an ad to outrank my page. So that's not the issue. Is my biggest thing right now when it comes to SEO is if people, because in financial services, people are always going to look you up. If people look me up, what shows up? If people ask their AI about me, about my business, what I offer, what shows up, and things of that nature. And of course, driving traffic to the website is probably just going to be like on the marketing efforts. How do you use Facebook and all these tools to drive clicks? LinkedIn, get people to click on that button. And then how you, because another thing about Webflow, right? Webflow charges you, this kind of frustrates me about Webflow. That Webflow charges you for analytics. They charge you an additional $40 a month just to get access to analytics. Right now I'm using Microsoft Clarity for my analytics, but with Framer, they just launched like an analytics service that just comes free, standard with your website, and I think that's great. They also launched Component Builder. So if you really want to build some interaction on your website, live data, interaction on your website, and you're trying to build a custom component for that, you can literally just ask, and the AI would build one for you. So it's kind of crazy.
I love that you said that, Fanya. There's something I want to piggyback on that you said about ranking. I don't think ranking is the holy grail or the one say be all. Like this is like the Dark Vader, or like this is like the say it and then that's it thing. No, that's not what it is. So ranking is, I usually say this: ranking is a byproduct of your success or failure, because if you are using, like you said, you're paying an extra amount to have access to intellectual property that you own,
Right.
which is crazy. So when I hear that, it's like I make a song. I'm in the entertainment business industry. I create a song. I know the producer, the writer, the distributor, the marketer, the publisher, and then I have a 360 deal because it has to go to everybody before it gets back to me. That's a problem too, because now I'm literally fighting tooth and nail to get the same thing, but I'm not getting the same share in equity. So if I'm looking at this from a long-term perspective, when you think about ranking and the platforms you're using, these are all the things that come into question. I don't care about ranking. I care about impact. Am I reaching the right people? Is my ranking affecting my scores? Because these are the same ranks that I'm going to use to validate when I have conversations when it comes to partnership deals, branding, sponsorships. And I'm not just ranking because Google ranks me. I'm ranking because I have authority in a niche that is explained in form of my context, that which I've delivered through a network service. So when you think about the long-term effect of it, yes, it definitely has a long road to play, but the little things go a long way when you think about the value and the exchange of the information that you give. So yeah, it's definitely a long conversation, but I'm glad that you asked it, and a lot of people will definitely want to know more about that. So thank you for that feedback. If I appreciate that.
Of course, of course. I gotta go though. I'm building software right now. Oh my god, like the
Let's
shit I'm gonna be doing
go.
today. Like it was literally impossible to just even just a year ago. Like the way how fast the world is moving right now is actually really nuts. And I hope you're embracing it. Don't just stick with SEO Favor. This is the greatest opportunity to be full stack because it's not just about whether your stuff can be discovered, is what does the website even look like? What are the kind of assets that you're putting on your website to attract people? How do you A/B test? How do you track these events when they click? What marketing system is that connected to? Like shit like that. That's the full stack marketing. Even in the marketing copy and materials, the images, the fit.
It's a lot. I know. It's a lot. It's not just SEO that we handle. It's literally the full stack end-to-end marketing, because you have to, it's like saying we do SEO and we forget there's a plug. It's like saying, okay, I have the plug to the source, but the source doesn't have power source, or there's no way we can track the meter. It doesn't make sense. There has to
Right.
be a sandwich that connects the dots. A sandwich is not a sandwich without two buns. So we have to definitely do end-to-end marketing, but it's definitely important, and it's no longer even search engine optimization, is search everywhere optimization. So
Absolutely.
I love
Absolutely.
that. Thank you, Fanny.
Absolutely. You're welcome. You're welcome. Take care. I'll talk to you guys soon.
Same here. Appreciate you. Have a great weekend.
You as well.
Guys, you've heard it, you've listened, you've paid attention. I'm not the only one saying this, and I always like to hear other people say it because I don't want to sound like a broken record. I want you to know that this is a real life thing that's happening in front of you. And if you just wait for something to happen, it's not going to be good. So the earlier you're able to adapt into it, the better. And the last thing I'm going to say about this is the technical part for SEO. And I'm going to say this really quickly because we've covered everything. Make sure your website is mobile friendly. We've covered that on images and text. Make sure it's loading fast. That's going to be based on your text and your images and your videos. Make sure that you're using HTTPS, not HTTP. There's a big difference because that's a huge SEO requirement now. If your website is HTTP, it's not secure. You're not going anywhere at all. You're not going to get on those blue links. So have a HTTPS protocol. That's going to help you tremendously. If you have any broken links on your website, fix them. How you get to know what's broken, go to siteliner.com, SITELINER.com. Siteliner is going to get you right and get to tell you have a broken page here, you have a broken page here. If you have under 250 pages, you can do it for free. If you have over 250 pages, then you'd have to pay for premium. So I'm giving you guys this site so you can do them yourself. Or if you think like this is too much work, we have a team of 11 people, including myself, and we can get you definitely sorted out. So click the link above if you want to connect or just book a call. And it's very important. Yes, HTTPS. That's important. And then also make sure your site is indexed and your URLs are SEO friendly. Don't just write SEO keywords on anywhere. They have to be friendly. Why is it friendly? Because if you're my friend, we can share a snack. We can share a table. We can break bread. If you're not my friend, we can't even trust each other in the same breathing space. So that's why it says SEO friendly. Friendly meaning that I can click on it. I like what I see. It's relevant. It makes sense. And that's me. So that's the goal, and that's the mission. That's the objective. So if you're able to do this completely, you can definitely hit it hit the ground running. So we've talked about SEO basics, keyword research, on-page SEO, off-page SEO, content SEO, and technical SEO. If you're able to do all these things correctly, you will go far. And if you do 1% every day, meaning you update one blog today to create a new blog tomorrow, or you podcast something today, you post somewhere tomorrow, all these little incremental things will add up, because 30 days is a lot. I feel like this month of May has been very long and we're still in the month of May. So if you've achieved something, please do, because this is something that you definitely do not want to ignore or keep back, or think about, oh, are we doing this today? Are we doing this tomorrow? How are we going to do this? And we create these events for long-term perspective. So if you have a business, then this is the best time to do it. Right now, I don't know if you know this before we go, there's something called a palindromic moment we're in right now. What's a palindromic moment? Between May 20th to May 29th, 2025, all the numbers 5/20/25, 5/20/25, they're all mirror image. So that means 5/20/25 through 5/29/25 are all in that palindromic state. So that's where we are right now in the month of May. I'm just letting you know it's probably irrelevant, but if you do something new for the first time and you try something new in this time we're in this little time window we're in, all the way through the 29th, you'll be surprised and see a lot of new things that can happen to you. It's happened to me already, and I'm just letting you know this too. John, what would your final words be on how people can really take advantage of this information when it comes to SEO and explaining it to themselves, and also how can they connect with you after this too?
The main thing I would tell people is, what can you do today? What can you learn today? And all these things that we're talking about, the other people were talking about, getting people on your site longer, getting them to take action longer. The hard thing is, if you have no traffic on your website, you're dead in the water. I don't care how many bells and whistles you got. If you got no traffic, you're not selling anything. So if you focus on your sources of traffic. This is where SEO is going to come in. AI comes in as well. If you're a podcaster, that comes in as well, because it puts new content up every time you do that. My website now has almost 1,000 pages that are searchable. And the other big thing I would say is start blogging. Start blogging on your website, and then find other locations I talked about earlier, like Medium, LinkedIn, blogspot.com or blogger.com, and hubpages.com, and start developing backlinks. So increase your chance of being discovered. And blogs have a tendency to, you can do a blog, then maybe they're called a blog, but you can do an article that can last 2 years and deliver traffic for you for 2 years. Traffic is the lifeblood of your business. So figure out what you can get started with and get started doing that, and then work your way up. Thank you.
Thank you so much, John. That is so true. Yes, traffic, and I can also say sales is the bloodline of your business. And if you have those two, traffic and sales, you'll always be in the green light, cash flow positive, and you'll have a great time online because people are actually there. If you have a business and it's profitable, it's because you're helping people solve problems. That's the only way you're in business. And I love that we talked about this today. So thank you, John, for being here. Ingrid, Richard,
Really
Barack.
quick
Yes.
favor.
Yes, John.
Are you going to be doing your Breakfast with Champions on Monday
Yes, I will
morning?
be there on Monday morning, 7 a.m. Central.
Cool, because I'm going to do a thing on paid Facebook ads and about traffic and what kind of traffic you can generate and how you can do it at low ball efficiency. Man, it might be right at perfect time to do Pinterest right as a follow up.
Yeah. Okay. Perfect. Thank you for letting me know. I will put that in mind, and I'll make sure that we have that on Monday for sure. Because running ads on Pinterest is a beast, and you can make so much money on Pinterest if you're doing things correctly. And yeah, it's definitely something to work on. Tracy said, "I'm triggered by the cha-ching sound. I ran to my phone to the sale that didn't come in." Wait, don't say those things. It's gonna come in, because take off the last part of that sentence, because it's coming. You just have to position yourselves. Positioning equals to sales. So that's something that we can definitely tap into. So wow, great topic today. Great conversation. I'm glad I did this, and I hope this helped you understand how to explain checklists, because when you understand the checklist, it's much better for you long term. So thank you, John, Ingrid, Richard, Barack, Sandy, Okbe, Tracy, Zach Black, Johanna, Carl, Tim. I appreciate you all for being here. Thank you, Johanna. I see you in the chat. If you have any questions, feel free to click the link above and book a call with me. Let's have a 30-minute conversation, talk about what you need, discuss pricing, scope of work, deliverables, action steps, roadmaps, because it's a project that you have, and it's a project that has a requirement, has a deadline, has a milestone, and we take that very seriously. So we hope to connect with you, connect with your team, with our team, and make the teamwork dream work. If that makes sense, make the teamwork dream work, meaning that, teamwork makes the dream work, meaning that if you work as a team with us and we work as a team with you, then there's nothing to worry about. Two makes a happy place. There's always two to tango. That's why they say it takes two to tango. So for you to do that, you have to be dancing in the right steps. You can't have two left feet. So you have to do these things correctly to make sure that they work out for you. So appreciate you. Have a blessed Memorial Day weekend. Enjoy yourselves, and I look forward to seeing you soon. I'm going to have a swim, enjoy myself in this weather. It's hot right now. It's almost like 95 degrees in Houston, Texas. So I'm about to have a swim and have a great time. Love you all. God bless you. Take care. And I'm going to see you guys on Monday in the Breakfast with Champions room. Now, that was an episode, right? Thank you so much for listening to the We Don't Play podcast show. I'm so glad that you're here and you are sticking tight with us, especially to the very end. Now, this is season 11 and we're going to do it differently. And I want to make sure that every episode you listen to has something to give back so that you can also learn more after you listen. Now, We Don't Play podcast show is where you listen, you live, you learn, and you earn. So if you're in any of those positions out of those four, please make sure that you reach out to me. Send out an email through info@playinc.online. That's info@playinc.online. Or you could go to playinc.online, which is a website, www.playinc.online, playinc.online, and schedule a call so that we can get you on an SEO discovery call to talk about your business and help you with your marketing needs. Thank you so much for listening, and I hope this helped you. See you in the next episode. God bless you. Jesus loves you. Bye.